What up, tubers? Yeah, it's your old pal Jackhammer Mike with another lame video. I guess it's going to be a three-part series because I took in the AR today, and as you can see, we're missing something here. Okay, so no more distortion. It really wasn't interfering with the scope, but it definitely was distorting. It would have distorted it. Stand by, I gotta go get the freaking sight. Okay, so I wish I had a scale, but I definitely shaved off a few ounces at least with this, taking this off of here. And that little tiny gas block, freaking awesome. And I put a melanite gas tube in there just for shits and giggles. Now I asked the armorer, now these guys don't know me yet, so I really couldn't push getting into the shop and filming stuff. But you know, I talked to the armorer and I said, well, how do you line up the holes? You know, in the gas block and the hole for on the barrel. I eyeball it. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, but the gas block hole is like 3 times as big as the hole that's inside the barrel. So, you know, there's a lot of room, you know, wiggle room. And this is why, again, I chose to take it to somebody who was a professional, because they could do it. They do it all day long, and he knew how to line it up. So there it is, the little gas block. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it. Aero Precision, 20 something bucks. I mean, it wasn't all that much. The gas tube was like 16. Melanite finish. Come on. I need light. It's not going to work for me. Alright, sorry guys. But needless to say, it's sharp. Awesome. And now it makes the mag pull look a little funny because there's nothing here. Used to be a A2 sight there, and yeah, it ain't there no more. So, I like the shot. The shotty is there. It's going to get the 3-gun opening of the loading port, and I'm very happy with the armorer there. The gunsmith was awesome. He had talked about having to shave or wire brush because of the Duracoat. And I said, dude, just do whatever you got to do to it. That's fine with me. I figured it was going to get chewed up. And he only had to wire brush where it was connected. He didn't have to touch any of the barrel or anything like that. He said he scratched it a couple of places, and I said, don't worry about it, dude. I really fully anticipated the whole thing to get trashed. So I'm very happy with the results. And it took him probably about a half hour, 45 minutes. It took him actually longer because he had to wire brush that thing. And I got a compliment on the riptile pattern. He said he'd never seen it in green before. And he said, well, you know, it's just, it works out there in the desert where we go. There's a lot of bushes that are a lighter green color. Some of the trees are lighter green. And, you know, it really blends in out there really well. And he just complimented me on it. He said that's a beautiful pattern. It looked great. So cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. Right Armory. RightArmory.com. If you can, I don't know. You probably, you know, you've got your own gunsmith or whatever. But these guys, that's all they do. And it was fantastic. I can't wait to get to know them better. I'll probably be able to get into the shop. I'm going to be the official plumber of Right Armory. And so I'm going to get to know them Again, they've got the shoddy there. It's gonna take them, you know, a few days to get to it, and then he's gonna, you know, open up that port so my big fat sausage fingers will not only can I load two shells at a time, but he's also going to, he's gonna file this down a bit, the foregrip, so that, you know, my hands just do a complete swoosh, swoosh. You know, and there's no interference. He's going to do it just like a 3-gun competition rifle would be. I don't need it per se. The only thing that I would need it for is if I'm doing CQB out here where I'm trying to protect my house from different guys, or, you know, if we're out in the desert and we're doing a hike. You know, it has 7+1, so there's 8 shot capacity to it. And depending on what I do, normally what I'll do is I'll load the first 2 rounds, that one in the chamber, and then the next one will be number 4 bird shot. That's because if we run into a snake or something, rabbit, whatever, I can hit it. After that, it's all double out butt. So, excuse me, thank you. I just do that because if I, you know, run across something that's running, you know, a little rabbit, you know, whatever, I can do that. Now, I also load this up with double out buck because of the fact that there are cattle out there, and the steers are nasty. You know, cattle out there are just completely wild for the most part. They've got all kinds of choya and stuff stuck to them. They're grouchy, cranky, and you get it near them, they're going to be pissed off, especially if they have calves out there. They're going to protect that stuff. And so if I got a bull charging at me or a cow charging at me, whatever the hell, I can dump the first 2 rounds out of that shotgun and have double out butt loaded. So, you know, that's how I roll down there when we're walking the wash and the river and getting out to cattle tanks and things like that. So, anyway, I got a dilemma, though. I kind of like the scope the way it is. I would certainly have to tape up these 2 dials. I would have to tape up this dial here because there's numbers here for my power. I'm not 100% sure I want to paint this yet. Black blends, okay? Black blends in with shadows, everything else. I don't necessarily think that this being black is going to be a problem. You know, I've got coated lenses. I could put a pair of pantyhose over the top of it, you know, a mesh to kind of hide it, which I probably will. I could also string up some threads or some little strips of camouflage. I got a couple pairs of shorts that are trashed. The seat finally wore out on them, and so I've got some tiger stripe and BDU or something. I could put some strips on here to kind of camouflage this, which I think would be better than painting it. I just have too much going on here to paint this thing. Plus I like the logos. I like to be able to see everything, and there's just so much there. I really don't necessarily know I want to paint it. I think I'm going to leave it, and I think I'm just going to throw some strips on it to give it some camouflage patterns. It'll look good. It will. It'll look really good. In fact, I'm going to go shred up those shorts right now and put some camouflage on here, and we'll get right back to you. Check, 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 check. Alright, Timbers. I'm back. Well, I know it's hard to believe, but Jackhammer Mike doesn't have any pantyhose laying around the house. As much as I love pantyhose, every chick that comes here takes them with her. They're usually thigh-high type of things, garters and all that fun stuff, so, you know, I just don't really get leftovers. So I won't be able to cover the front lens much. yet, but here's what I do. I've done this on several things camo. You got a pair of ratty old shorts, pants, whatever's. I don't know. Use them. Take it. Like this. Super simple. And totally camouflaged. Who cares if stuff's sticking out? It's gonna blend in with leaves. Okay? So I don't know. I need a long one for here. That's what she said. I'm gonna go a little shorty here. But, you know, just breaking up the pattern is what camouflage is all about. You know, I could just leave it like that, an overhead knot. Not any big deal. Let's see, where's my longest strip? There we go. There's a good long strip. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this one, we're gonna put it over here. And once we tighten it up, let's bring it out here. And double knot it so it stands up a little bit. Yeah, the only reason I'm doing a double knot is just because it stands up a touch. And let's crank it off to the side a little bit. So now, here we are. Okay. This part here going to be a little bit sketchy because it is concave, you know, it at an angle. So everything you put on here is going to slide off of it. But put a big fat strip on it. And just put a simple overhand knot on it. And it should do you well. Again, it's going to blend in to the environment. I'm going to put one around the scope mount. I'll put one on this side here. That doesn't interfere with anything. Oops. You can see how those shorts are just about disintegrating. So, but repurpose them. Pants, whatever, anything that's got a camo pattern, repurpose it. Tuck it in, let it stick out, make it look like leaves. And then over here, I don't really, I'm gonna have to cover up the Vortex logo, I guess, whatever. But, you know, again, I want it to blend, I want it to camouflage, I don't want people to see me. Shit. Stuff's just like totally falling apart. There you go. So, that's really all you need. You don't need a ton. Ooh, I got a space right here. Let's put last strip right here. You know, the thing of it is that it's way better to do this than I think than to paint it. Just because of the fact that the paint, you have to really be careful about getting it on the lenses. You have to be really careful about getting it on the dials. And this is like a leaf pattern or whatever, so I mean it could do whatever it wants to. It could just spin around and you know, it's a leaf pattern, so you got all kinds of different things you could do. And when one breaks off, falls off, whatever, just replace it. Not any big deal. And with all the black in it and everything, it's all, the pattern is broken up. You know, it's as good as it's going to get. And I'd rather do that than paint it. Again, just because I don't want to have to worry about trying to paint, you know, cover this up, cover up the numbers, cover up the logo, you know. It's just, I don't really want all that nonsense. So I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to paint it. And it's camouflaged. It's totally camouflage. You'll never see me in a bush. And maybe the next time we go shooting, I'll stand out and I'll get in a bush or whatever and try to show you how well this stuff works. But again, it's like leaf camouflage. You're never going to see this. 100 yards away, 50 yards away, 25 yards away, you're never going to see it. So I think that's all I'm going to do to it, because I really want access to the knobs. I want to be able to see the numbers, and I really want to have not to worry about having to try to paint this thing. So we'll just camouflage it like that and we'll be good to go. Now I have to zero it. I have a scope mounting kit coming from Amazon, a Wheeler. It was fairly inexpensive. I would have had those guys mount the scope for me, but I'm going to have you know, on the AR-10, I'm going to have a scope to mount on it, and then, you know, friends and other people that want to mount a scope and stuff, I'll have a kit here that I can do it. And really all I got to do is I've got to get it in a mount like this, and then I've got to make sure that the rifle is level, and then I've got some things that make the scope level and stuff. So I really need to have a kit. I like to do it myself if I can. I don't like to depend on others. And again, if you're out in the field or whatever, shit hits the fan, you're not going to be able to go to a gunsmith, so you better learn how to do the things you need to do. Take care of your gun and go from there. Now, I will say this, the gas block, you know, I mentioned in the last video that I was curious to know about what the port looked like. And again, I told you that, you know, when he mounted this thing, he mounted it, and he said that the port itself was bigger than the port in the rifle, so that you have a lot of fudge room, okay? But I asked him, I said, well, what do you think about, you know, it's had 2,000 rounds through it, what about, you know, cleaning it? And he says, you don't have to worry about it. It's such high pressure, and it's not getting the carbon buildup that, you know, back here does. Actually it does, because it blows back, but it's at such a high pressure and high speed that it will never clog up your port or your gas tube. So it's not a bad thing to know how to change it or take it apart and clean it every once in a while, but he says it really will never be an issue for you. So I thought that was kind of cool. You never know. So there you have it. Camouflage scope, camouflage rings, and when my kit gets here, I'll do a quickie how to do your scope. It's pretty good as it is. It's a little far away and it's a little high because it's on the table. Yeah, I can't really get on that eye relief right now with it, but it's good to go, and I'm happy. I like the camo. I'll take it. And then that way I don't have to worry about painting it or anything like that. I can throw whatever on here. I can even wrap some grass around it if I wanted to. You know, anything flexible, you can wrap around it, give it a little more camouflage. So I don't really want to paint it. Just too much of a hassle, and too many things that I need to dial this in that I can't spare getting paint on. So. Alright, so there you have it. Took off the big A2 mount, the sight, shaved off a couple of ounces, which is fantastic, and have a Melonite gas tube now. Armor was very cool, got compliments, and very happy with the results. I can't wait to see what the shotty looks like once that loading port is all opened up, man. The double rounds going in there, quad loading, boom, boom, boom. I've got some safaris coming, so I can quad load, boom. You know, I'm not doing 3-gun, but if I am under attack or I might have to defend myself and I'm blowing rounds through it, bam, I can, you know, 2 rounds apiece, boom. That's the only fastest way to load that I can imagine, speed loading. And you know I'm all about speed loading. So instead of carrying a bunch of magazines on me with a shotty, I just have to have a bunch of ammo, and it has to be, you know, in case. So I'll probably have like 8 rounds right here, just so I can refill it. That's all I'm gonna need, hopefully. We'll see. I tell you what, if the Dems get their way, Beto O'Rourke gets his way, and that asshole gets elected, which there's no, this, talk about a snowball's chance in hell, not even that. That clown will never get elected, but you can see what's on their minds. He's the only one that had the balls to say it. All the other ones want to do the same damn thing, and they're going to confiscate your weapons, folks.
Further, you said, quote, Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government, all of them. You know the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
They're going to totally do it. Mandatory buyback. That's what they're saying, mandatory buyback. Screw that. You're going to have to come and take it, and it won't be pretty. It definitely will not be pretty. I hope it doesn't come to that. I don't want it to come to that. But again, I'm not going to give up my Second Amendment rights. You know, people that march for equal rights should totally be on board with the fact that you should be marching for all rights that are in the Bill of Rights. You know, those rights are not given to us by man. Right? They're given to us by a higher power, whatever your God is. So go with it as that. And I'll tell you this too. We have a brilliant talk show host here in the morning, and he made a great point. David Hogg was out spouting off again this week, and he was bringing up some bullshit about what freaking battle was it? I can't even remember what the hell the battle was.
Interesting you say that, because sometimes that very argument is used by opponents of gun safety measures, and not, I mean, disingenuously, but not incorrectly, which is they will say, well, this thing you want will only affect a little bit of this.
Right.
And it's true. The problem, like, we have a ton of guns. We have a culture that is a very violent culture, America. Like, how do you and the movement think about that?
I think it comes down to reckoning with our history and our history of white supremacy in the United States, and the fact that we live in a post-genocidal society, oftentimes that was orchestrated by the United States government, and that if we want to talk about mass shootings, we have to recognize the massive number of indigenous mass shootings that were committed by the United States government. I think back to the Battle of Wounded Knee and the several hundred Native American, predominantly men, women, and children, that were slaughtered by the United States government back in the 19th century, and how that's never discussed as a mass shooting, right? And that's wrong, because those people were not armed, and we were stealing their land. I think it comes down to reckoning with a tough history and realizing that it's okay if you recognize the actual history of the United States. It's okay to hate that injustice that much of this country has been founded on and much of the oppression that this country was founded on. That doesn't mean you hate America, because it means that you love your fellow Americans so much that you don't want to repeat the same mistakes we've made in the past.
Sorry, Alzheimer's. But there was a battle back, you know, against for the U.S. military and the Indians, and the Indians were basically unarmed, and the military slaughtered men, women, and children. And he's calling that a mass shooting and everything else, you know, trying to equate that to the mass shootings of today. But the talk show host just made a great point. You know, David Hogg just made the best argument in the world for an armed populace. If the Indians, the indigenous people, whatever you want to call them, had weapons to defend themselves, would they have still been a victim? I don't think so. Or they would have gone down fighting at least. They wouldn't have been sitting ducks. So, there you have it. All right, folks. Part 3 coming up. Probably going to get shoddy back next weekend. And we'll show you the port and everything like that we're going to have to paint. We're going to have to cover it up. This has got a little bit, because he had to wire brush it and get the paint off of it to get the mount off. There's a little bit of black in here, but you can't see it enough to be a problem. The barrel is still camied. This is all camied. I doubt I'm going to even paint this thing. So we're just going to leave it at that, and we're going to go from there. We'll be sighting this thing in a couple of weeks. Man, tell you what, it went down to 92 like Tuesday, 96 on Wednesday, and then 103 again. And we're supposed to get some storms today, but again, it's humid as shit. 103 today is the high. This has been a brutal summer. I really thought it was going to be wet, and it's been dry as crap. Just really humid. Just haven't had anything form. So Arizona sucks. It's brutal. Don't come out here. You don't want to live here. But with that being said, when it starts to cool off in the next 2 weeks, September is a real big turning point. Usually by mid-September or the end of September, it starts getting down into the 80s and 90s. And we're going to go out and we got to go sight this in, and we're going to do some plinking, and maybe even do a little bit of run and gun. We'll see. So, all right, with that, I am out.